today is the culmination of a bunch of different movements that initially had an agenda that had nothing to do with the overall sustainability of the United States at all. Maybe to clarify what I'm talking about even further, I can read a quote. This is a quote from Farrakhan. I'm not saying that the minister didn't do a lot of great things. You know what I'm saying? And that there weren't a lot of people that were inspired by this person. Yet, that has nothing to do with, as somebody that's adherent to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, a lot of the things that's going on the occult tip with the nation is not really cool. But this is a quote from Farrakhan. Before Elijah Muhammad, you looked at yourself as a Negro. One of our most wonderful black organizations was the United Negro Improvement Association, which would show that we still had growing to do. What a wonderful, wonderful teacher Marcus Muzai Garvey was. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad loved and admired him. Noble Jew Ali is the father of what you call the Moorish Americans or the Moorish scientists. Noble Jew Ali was admired by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad because he said that Noble Jew Ali gave us a start to the direction towards Islam. The Moorish brothers wore fezzes and the crescent and tassels swinging freely as they wore the name Bey or Il. Right? So, when I was coming up in the nation of gods and earths, I used to hear about how W.D. Fard was the one that brought the Lost Foundation of Islam back and gave them a nationality and things like that. But then when I really did the knowledge, what was lauded on Master Farad or David Ford Eel was actually a lot of the things that he learned from being around the Prophet in the founding of the temple, just as Elijah Poole Bey did. So what's funny is when you have this factionist mentality amongst these so-called conscious groups that really all have their beginnings after the works of what went down in 1928, or from the beginning of the late 1800s to about 1928. There was a whole another aspect of American history and culture that we are not being associated with at all. And it's a purposeful act. And it's by nature deceitful because it undermines the very balance or essence of our contributions to the world. Not just the United States, but to the world. This is not by secret. This is not by chance. Every day you are assaulted with images on how savage melanated people are. There is not a day that goes by that you are breathing on the planet Earth in this postmodern racial society that you are not berated with some image of you as some sort of animal in a bestial state. You could go a whole day without hearing nobody call nobody nigger, or hear about a cop beating somebody to death, or a mother ripping her son's penis off and trying to glue it or glue it back on, or anything like that. And then you feeling good, and then maybe right before you go to bed, right when you brushing your teeth or whatever, somebody call you or you go to turn the TV on for a minute, and boom, there it is. This one going to jail. This one getting locked up. This gang member getting shot. This baby going to jail. All of this. Now that they've got the situation to the point where they're actually showing so-called poor white trash on TV like that, which, again, was part of the niggerization of the white race, of the so-called white race under the regime of George Bush and Cheney and them, this adapted, again, the privately owned prison mentality that eventually all of the subjects of the United States have micromanaged in formal fashion. And so this now becomes the prerequisite to institute values or lack of values within a system that, number one, disproportionately put energy against the family. Meaning, in 1970 to the mid-80s, you could have a job, to the mid-90s, early to mid-90s, you could be working one job and hold down two apartments. Now you could have two jobs that can't hold down one. See what I'm saying? So therefore, the value has already been dejected against the United States at a 2-to-1 rate. You see what I'm saying? That's the same odds you get in a pawn shop. So in the exclusion of our people as a mentally literate people, no matter how much you do or whatever, they never are going to recognize you as a functional literate so long as you comprehend and respond to the caste system that they function under, which essentially is the Roman Curia, essentially, or the in our case, the intercuria that was put down as the Papal Bull 1493. That's the one that is specifically hounding the darker skinned peoples of the planet, because that was the one that basically acknowledged the fact that the Moors were basically all over the planet. So anywhere they were, they had to be recognized as something else and be forced from being infidels and come into the nation of Christ, which would mean they would abandon their estates to the church, and then they would come in under a colorable jurisdiction. One of the jurisdictions, colorable, that was made up to associate somebody as a beast of burden, like octoroon and quadroon and mulatto and all of that. So it used to be you could be a slave and move up, right, and become a sultan and whatever. Now, you're fooled to believe that you're already that, or you can be that, right? But essentially, to do that, you have to disassociate your true self from your external self. Are disjointed due to the fact that we are clinging to a history that has decayed to the point that we find no value in ourselves, because we come from nothing that we can actually call our own, because everything that we think that we have not only can be taken away in a second based upon how corrupt these people are, but it has to be in some instances based upon their parasitic need to exist through us. And vice versa. It's become almost symbiotic now. When you say the word black, you're saying the word white. By contrast, when you say the word white, you're saying the word black, but just by contrast. So because they've turned the world into a color-struck planet where people have placed the emphasis on the actual shade of the skin, properties of what it represents and really means and does for the individual to themselves, so that way they can create a lucrative human organ trafficking system where they can somehow find ways to legalize it. So all these gangbangers and all these Africans and all these blacks in prisons that they kill and all that, where all them organs going? Black people ain't got no money for organs like that, right? That's what they say, right? Black people ain't got no money for organs like that, right? That's what they say, right? The Moorish Science Temple, like I said, of America is the trust. It is what it is because it was endowed by the energies that preceded it. It started on January 8th in 1926 and ended with somebody born on January 8th in 1928. What's the odds on that? But we're not supposed to associate that is not predominantly animist or like darker skin. The application of how, by following something basic as the word Christianity, the very vibration of Christ at the forefront of that word, and then backed up by the word eanity, meaning lack of substance. So as we deal with the divine nature of man that lacks substance, this is the proverbial Jesus of the Western occult mystery systems that is perpetuated through the so-called Christian mystery system interpreted through Freemasons. See what I'm saying? Who don't really deal with that in the traditional sense that you think. But due to the separation of the original Moabite nation from its core, meaning its spiritual purpose in the world, as the predominant de jure Islamic monarchy on the planet, connected by blood and the Constitution of 622 AD of Muhammad. You see what I'm saying? That consecrates us as indeed Muslims, a distinct bloodline of Islam that is perpetuated by the great God Allah in the noble title and name, a beneficiary title and name, Il and Bay of the Al-Bayat or Bayat that we read about in the surahs. Surahs being, or surah or Sarah being the actualization of the term Sarah sin or Sarah sons, and us being a part of the empire of mothers and sons, we are being deprived of a huge aspect of something that can greatly enhance the morale of our people. Black folk are the only folk that are given leaders, you see what I'm saying, and who are given fictional characters that become icons. So when I say JJ, and when I say Mr. Drummond, and when I say who else, Rerun or whatever, you know what I'm talking about. I'm bringing you back to an essence in which we were given these icons. When I say Mr. Jefferson and these things, we talk about those shows and those people like they was actually real people in our lives. Like we really was taking our clothes to Mr. Jefferson cleaners and you know what I'm saying, doing, buying patents from JJ. Like we act like we was really doing that. And Good Times, for instance, was written by Jay Leno. You know what I mean? He was one of the writers on the show. You did? He was one aspects, again, lead to why we're, again, so disjointed, because we have so many ideas of what we are, instead of just accepting the fact that maybe what we are is what we are the most adherent to by nature. And by nature, the original man, the original Moabite is prone to love, truth, peace, freedom, justice, and equality. If we weren't, then we wouldn't have been enslaved. If that wasn't our predominant way of life, we would not have fallen victim to our position. We would have been the ones conquering it. We just always had everything. We still do. We still got it. It's just that we don't got it in the will, in the mind anymore. So we're absent of ourselves. Therefore, we fall under the jurisdiction of the 1666 Cestui Trust, ecclesiastical trust, that was conveyed into the pseudo United Constitution for the United States under the 14th and 15th Amendment, creating a quasi-citizenship for the Negro, which means he is a citizen only in name. This is why predominantly anybody that's under that name, black or Negro, get targeted and get killed and blown up. This is just what it is. This is why he got no money, because they flipped the title. It's not the skin color that's black that's the problem. It's the status that is connected by fiction to the skin color that then anchors the actual experience into being. It's about the skin color. And it's not. It's about the status that goes with the colorable title that enables the colorable system to function against divine, universal, natural law or jurisprudence or isonomy, which is love, truth, peace, freedom, justice, and equality. Isonomy has two eyes. God has two eyes. You dig? The so-called devil only got one.